here it goes. It's called She's Mine. She gets up with the sun just before anyone, packs her lunch and heads on the freeway.
Can you do the Pornhub thing?
Oh boy! All right, so I'm really hoping I get Morgan Wallen tickets out of this. By the way, for coming all the way down here and doing this fucking podcast, right?
I thought you were Morgan Wallen. Are we ready?
We're ready.
All right. Hey, Beauty and the Beef, back here on the Rock with one of our best buddies and great country artist that we're gonna help spread his talents and his new songs, Justin Fancy. Thanks for coming to Beauty and the Beef, baby.
Thanks
This
very
is
much.
cool, guys. Thanks for having me, and welcome back to Newfoundland. Is your first time?
It's my first time.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know it's not Ellen's first time.
The mayor of Martini Bar.
I'm surprised he's allowed back.
Oh yeah. I hear you. We won't expand on that yet.
I'm good for the economy.
Good for the literally though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
literally. Yeah.
We try and support new moms and wannabe moms and families and fishermen, and
Well, I was going on the NASCAR route, but we can talk about moms if you want.
I am good for that economy too. But I've never been to the Cotton Club, by the way. I've never been.
You know what, man? Out of all the years I've heard Cotton Club and Sirens and all these places, I don't think I've ever stepped foot in there either. So you're not alone when it
Yeah.
comes to that stuff. I don't know. Strip clubs, I don't know if I'm going to ruin myself here, but the strip clubs don't do it for me. You go in and spend $400 or $500 on what? On watching someone dance around you for a couple minutes?
Yeah, I'll do that for two. I think you're also as an artist that's out there. I know you, and you're literally came in from doing construction on your own studio.
Yeah.
So you're more of a guy that's going to put money in yourself. Same way.
Sure.
The guys, Albert and the staff here. These guys.
Reed,
That's
yeah.
one thing about Reed. One thing I feel like a lot of people from Newfoundland, they're really good at investing in themselves.
Sweat equity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to our roots. I mean, like my grandfather would say, do not pay anybody to come in and do your house, and kind of, why don't you learn how to do it yourself and be more self-sufficient than to pay someone, a carpenter, to come in. Now, times have changed drastically because I would never be able to try and, it would take me months to do what carpenters and painters and plasterers and all that stuff do in a week. These guys come in and just bang it, whatever. But we are naturally more self-sufficient. There's no doubt about it. I mean, and the other side of it is we don't have the resources here, especially in the arts community. I mean, if you want to go down that route, we don't have the resources here that, say, a Toronto has or a Calgary has. We don't have the exposure here. I mean, it's getting better with the internet and social media and all that kind of stuff, but it's tough here to make a go at pretty much anything. Right?
Is there like a legendary studio here like there is in Toronto where all the bands come and cut, or is it
Not at all. Like there's not. I mean, there's a couple of guys that do it here. Seven View Studios is where I record. Clint Curtis, he's out in Springdale, and he's like literally recording out of his basement. There's a guy here in town by the name of Robert Kelly. He's very, very talented at what he does, and it's pretty much the only like mainstream studio is here at Bond Street, right here. But there's not a famous studio where people would come from away to come down here and record at this studio. Like it's not like Toronto. It's not like Nashville. It's not like, there's not really. But again, with technology, I've been able to record a good product with just, pretty much technology and the way that that stuff has gone over the years. You're able to record pretty much anywhere now.
they've made things easier.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our if you go back to like say Ron Hines, for example, very iconic Newfoundland folk artist. He used to go away. He used to go to Toronto and record. So
Most people, I don't know whether you know anything about this, Chris, or not, but there's a part of it too with CanCon. So as a new artist, or not a new artist, as a Canadian artist, we have something called CanCon, Canadian content. So 40% of everything you hear on the radio has to be Canadian.
Right.
So when you hear Shania Twain, we can go down this road. If you go to a country station and you hear Shania Twain on there, 10 years later, they're doing that because it meets a certain amount of requirements
Criteria.
for CanCon.
Yep.
As I say this, I mean, we don't apply for Factor or any of that other stuff. I disagree with it. I think I think the best music should be the best music, and I also think the way that they give out $5,000 here and $10,000 here, I think they should be giving $1 million to 3 different artists in Canada and making them global. I don't think I think it's like we live in a world where if you want to find music and you want to find good music, like I listened, I got Justin on my playlist right beside Luke Combs and right beside George Strait, Morgan Wallen, like he's right in there,
which is cool.
Yep.
And that's not because I know the guy and I like the guy. It's because I actually like his music, and I struggle with the CanCon thing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I guess the inclusion part is really, really big now. And gender, who's getting what and who's getting, like, they're always comparing that stuff now. I understand the radio part where we have to play 40% of Canadian content. Whatever way you want to look at it, I think it's a good thing, because if it weren't the case, we wouldn't get played on radio. So, but on your end of it, I mean, why play it if it's not good music? If it's not something that, why force people to play it if it's not the best in the world?
It's good for artists, but it's maybe not consumer friendly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I know of a couple of stations that struggle with playing only Canadian content. And it's not something that everybody wants. Everybody wants to see the superstars. They want to hear the superstars. They want to hear the Morgan Wallen.
Do you get support? Is there a country station in St. John's?
Yes, there is. Yeah. It's a new country station, which is it's a Stingray station, actually. Yeah.
So do they help you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're good.
Yeah. So here locally, we still have some control of our programming here in St. John's. It all amalgamated into a big Stingray thing. And there's a guy in Moncton by the name of Shiloh Bellis. He's a really, really good friend of mine. And he programs all the national programming
for Stingray.
Okay. But we're the only station in Canada in St. John's that have actual our own programming that we have allotted certain times in the day, specifically for local music. Like on Sunday, I think they call it Jigs and Reels or something like that. They play Newfoundland music and all that kind of stuff. Cool. But they still have time allotted. So if Shiloh programs a 6-hour show for a day, they might have an hour time in between all of that and in the midst of it all to play some local music, right?
I think that's great, because
it is.
Your culture here is so unique.
Yeah, for sure.
And your people are so unique. So it's I got to be careful how I say this, but I know some people in the tourism department.
Yep.
And they do a bunch of advertising on TV, and it's like sometimes when I see commercials for St. John's or Newfoundland Labrador for tourism, I can only like the same fucking kite has been flying in the air for 2 decades, and the old lady's still putting out the clothes on the clothesline. Whereas like
same artist getting the cuts for the
the commercials have never changed, where it's like here is like young people, culinary, music, George Street. Yeah. Like it's time
to hidden gem.
But I think there's your traditionalists that are in those departments that are like, well, we're still going towards like the 50 to 7-year-old once in a lifetime trip.
Demographic.
Yeah. That's not the case anymore. You got George Street Live.
I agree with that.
You got all this fun shit going on the Rock, and like guys our age, we want to come out here and golf for the weekend. We want to come out here and drink for the weekend. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as I know, the way the government works, if they decide on something, I mean, they won awards the first year they came out. They won awards for for how good it looked and all
It
this
was
kind of stuff. Whatever.
1991, and they're running the same fucking ads.
Yeah, exactly. When they run the same things, and I don't think government likes change or.
Are they afraid?
Shouldn't.
Are they afraid?
I shouldn't really go down that avenue, but I mean, government is government.
I
right?
think there's
It's
just a lot of levels, right? It's
I agree.
It would
100%.
take.
So
it
to
would
change something like that, it's usually you've got to go through the steps.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
8 levels or
Listen, this week Peter Pan's coming out in the movie theaters.
Right.
It was filmed in Bonavista,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
the trailer for it,
Yeah.
the starters flying over the Atlantic here.
It's
and
crazy, yeah.
It's like this is a film music. Like they have huge tax programs. They have huge tax credits for
Yeah.
world class production companies coming
Yeah.
here and doing this stuff. You look at some of the funniest people to ever come out of this country. They are from here. You look
Yeah.
at some of the
Yeah.
best chefs, some of the
Yeah.
artists. I mean,
You got a lot of adversity here to go through. The weather alone.
getting home from George Street.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm usually down in Florida this time of year for a couple of weeks to go out with my buddies golfing, and this is like the longest time I've spent in the winter in the last 3 or 4 years here, and I'm like, come on, man, it got to end now.
Yeah.
My buddies wanted to go on a trip in May this year, and of course with the pandemic, I couldn't go the year before that, right? So my buddies changed it to May this year, and it's like the longest winter ever. Here, I hate it here in the winter. It's I hate it here on the Avalon because we get snow and shit. Like there's no other way to describe it. We get snow, we get sleet, we get rain, we get shit, and it's like there's no good for snowmobiling. There's no trails here. There's no skiing here. You got to go to Clarenville or Corner Brook, and Corner Brook is absolutely beautiful. I do all my snowmobiling on the West Coast, which is about a 7.5-hour drive from here. And I just have to drive that length of time to enjoy winter alone here.
I find it ironic that you drive 7 hours to get on a snowmobile to drive around.
But the sights and see. Okay,
we do that in Ontario too.
No,
Okay.
we don't.
Oh yeah, we go to Quebec.
I sometimes go to like Toronto. I'm not going on a snowmobile. It's too fucking cold, man.
When you see Western Brook Gorge for the first time,
Yeah.
which is about, it's literally like it's a gorge. With 2,000 feet on either side, you'll know why I drive 8 hours to go see it. And bowls and powder and all this kind of stuff. I mean,
But you love snowmobiling too.
yeah, I do. I definitely do. I mean, the sights and the scenery out there is just crazy, crazy.
They say
It's
in the
beautiful,
winter here. There was a comment made this week that if you're either on the West Coast snowmobiling or you're in Florida or Mexico, there's no in between.
It's true, man. It's very true. West coast of our island is, in my opinion, this might be contrary to some people, but I think, Western Newfoundland, closer to the mainland, we'll say, and not so much on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. It's more in the Gulf. And I really think that should have been the capital city. Corner Brook is absolutely stunning over there, man. It doesn't matter.
How many people live there?
Jeez, man, I don't know. Maybe 100,000. Yeah,
100,000?
somewhere around there. Yeah.
We talked about this because I took Chris out to Cape Spear yesterday.
Yeah, cool.
Or the day before.
Was it windy?
We talked about imagine the Vikings that stopped here and just said, "Oh, we're gonna go from there to Kingston."
Mm-hmm.
32,000 2016 census.
Yeah, so
it's
40.
probably That's
West Coast will say the whole West Coast will say 100,000, a couple 100,000 maybe.
population of Newfoundland is 530,000.
Yeah, 500,000 people, and most of them live here.
Yeah,
we just talked about how when you drive it to Cape Spear, you go down that road and it's beautiful, and then there's a parking lot to the left just before you get to the actual parking lot, a little lookout. Imagine rolling up on an old wood boat covered in fur into this place, and then climbing through rocks and
hitting the rocks. Yeah,
to go through a section of bush out there would take you a week to go 100 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing, man. That's the most easterly point in North America, by the way. Cape Spear.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. It's really that always struck me. It's like, okay, we're on the edge of North America here, right?
On the edge of the world,
which is crazy. Which is pretty cool.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, we settled here because of fish, because it was there was abundance of fish, and that's what we that's why why the Vikings came here, is why people came here. It was just prosperous when it came to food. And and that's why we were here, and now we're here. We have oil and natural resources that we're relying on now to keep this place going. But I mean, we're still billions in debt. After we got rid of the fishery, I mean, it was just a struggle. People had to, in '91, when that moratorium came in and said you couldn't fish anymore, you couldn't go out in your boat anymore, and you couldn't grab fish or fish to make a living. We started relying on the on the inshore fishery, which was crab and lobster and all that kind of stuff. And even that's a fucking mess now. I mean, it's just like the fishery itself as a whole is struggling to survive. And if that means that we took too much fish out of the water, then whatever. If it's global warming or if it's climate change, whatever. It's just Newfoundlanders, and this goes back to your opening statement about how we like to be. We're more on the self-sufficient side of things. Like, we went through so much hardship trying to land on this place, even landing on those rocks over there or wherever we landed to in Newfoundland. Like, fucking hardship, man. This place is a hard fucking place it's the rock for a reason. Yeah,
That's why everything that comes out of here is good.
yeah. Well, I guess so.
People the people here are resilient, and you see that from if you've never been here, get on an Air Canada flight. Actually, we're not plugging those guys today. If you fly here, 50% of the plane is always full of guys coming from Fort McMurray or the oils out west, and these guys are working out there and coming back here. There's a whole story about why they took the fishing licenses and why they closed it down, and it's because they needed the workforce in Western Canada, and they actually just shifted all the people. Like, there's a conspiracy about it. It's crazy. We'll post about it. I'm super intrigued about, I mean, your love of music, how you got started, and where you're at. I know you just had a new single.
Yeah, new single was back in, it was October, November now, but I got a new one. I got a brand new one coming. So, man, I mean, my start for me was trying to entertain people around a campfire or it just like in a natural setting at a party or whatever,
I have the same ability.
I was always naturally trying to please my father, and I remember when I got a guitar, Mom wanted me to. I wanted a guitar, and Mom kind of approved it, and Dad was like, "Well, I don't know what he's gonna do with that. If I spend $1,000 on this, blah blah blah, what's he gonna do?" And my dad's a businessman and all that kind of stuff, and so I got the guitar at the age of 13. He signed me up for lessons. He brought me out. I did 2 lessons. I had the chords pretty much down. And Steve Edwards tells me in his story still, he's in Miami. He used to own a music store here, Music City it was called. And he said, man, like, you came in, you got 2 lessons, and then you had 4 or 5 songs, like, automatic. He said it was nuts. It was like the first, like, he
natural.
Said, and there was no YouTube and shit then. There was nothing. It was just, he just said that I got the chords and everything. I had no interest in lessons. As soon as I got a chord down, as soon as I could play a chord on the guitar, then I was ready to go. So then I inherited a psalm book from my aunt Sandra that I posted actually on Facebook the other day. I found it and I was looking for it for years. And I got it out the basement to do the studio, and I found this fucking book. But it's what I learned off, and it was old country music and classic music, classic rock, like Eagles.
That's cool.
Who else was on there? It was Cat Stevens. It was Merle Haggard.
I love Cat Stevens.
Yeah, I mean, like all of this kind of stuff, and it was all like it was all written with a typewriter, and then once they typed out the lyrics, they'd go with a pen and just put the chords. This was my aunt and uncle that did all of that. So I mean, this book was like 400 pages long, and I literally. I went through the entire fucking book and I learned it, and it was the foundation of how I learned how to play guitar and how I learned how to play good songs.
Do you have your first guitar that your dad bought you?
I do, yeah. It's a blue Art Luther guitar, and it was handmade in Quebec, but it was a cheap old guitar. I mean, we paid, I think it was $300 or $400 for it or whatever. My brother actually has it at his house because he wanted to learn how to play. and his fingers started bleeding, so he gave it up.
Sounds soft.
But he's actually a good singer. My youngest, you met Johnny, eh? I think you did. My youngest brother. He's actually a good singer. He lacks confidence, but he doesn't mind. He has a few drinks or whatever. He'll come down to Greensleeves, and if I'm playing, he'll hop up on stage.
Yeah,
and
nice.
song, right?
You can write, you can play music, you can read music.
No, I can't. I haven't read a note in my entire life. I can read like if it says G or C or D, whatever. I know what a chord is, but like reading music, I've never. It's something. So my 10-year-old daughter now, I can't believe she's 10, by the way. But I got her in lessons to read music because it's something that I think that if I had my time back, I would have went through that and did that whole thing. But they say you can get. I don't know how to say it. You can get a little too technical when you know how to read music. It becomes something that's almost like standard. Whereas I kind of go by ear a lot and feel. You're
more of the creative process opposed to the standard process.
I guess so. I guess that's what it is. That's what they say anyway. But like I'd like to have both avenues of it and go right in the sweet spot in between it, so that if I could understand it a little more, right? I'm just going off. It's hard to explain this too, but I'm going off what I feel like everybody else would like to hear.
Sure.
So when I'm writing, I do that, and so like when I write a chorus to sound like somebody would. Yeah. I mean, I use references a lot. I use a lot of the big time country music and all that kind of stuff. I don't at all try and copy what they're doing, but there's a formula for a hit song, right? And like
keywords.
Greg Wells in LA, I just spent a week with him, and he said next time you go through just go through a playlist that's created like by Spotify or whatever like this, and he said that goes back like 30-40 years, and just get all the years into one playlist and start playing the music. He said you would not believe how many hit songs have "tonight" in it. And he said it's the most used word in a hit song in history.
Yeah.
He did that. He did an interview with somebody that you posted on Instagram, and I watched it. Yeah. He's an interesting guy.
Oh man, way above me.
He's super cool.
Like crazy down to earth, beautiful person, and just like absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Like there's no other word.
He believes in you.
Yeah, and I kind of thought it was a farce at first. I was like, "What the hell is this guy praising me up?" Like this guy's. I guess it was a moment of realization for me, in a lot of ways. I knew my music was good, and I knew we were producing good things, because when you go into a studio, it's one thing to have a good song, but you have to produce it right. You have to. I mean, there's just so many factors that go into this stuff. Like I know great writers here in town that have had shitty production on their songs, and it's just like, oh my god, if I could just spend like one day with these people and
take them to the next level.
Yeah, and that's what it was for me. I couldn't find a producer. I hadn't found a producer, and I didn't have time to fly to Nashville or fly to Calgary. And I've heard people that have went to Nashville without a plan and went and recorded a record, and they weren't happy with it. And it's just because these studio musicians in Nashville just put it on a fucking conveyor belt and put it through, and there's no feel in the songs and music. But back to Greg and what was involved there. This was like right out of the blue. He messaged me and wanted me to set up a meeting, and I was obviously more than happy to do that. And we got on a meet, and I was on the next flight to LA. I mean, well, a couple weeks later, but I went to LA, and man, that was a hell of an experience.
And how did he find out about your talent?
So he had bought a church here in Newfoundland. It was completely off the cuff. But he had family. His mother was from, I believe, the Bonavista Peninsula, somewhere around there, and his father actually pastored at a church in Winterton where he bought this church. So he was already making a few waves in Newfoundland because he was buying this church to set it up as a studio. So So he wrote on his Instagram one day. So I followed him because I was interested in what he was doing here, right?
Yep.
Not that, hey man, Greg, hey, go record my next record kind of deal. Like I'm not that kind of guy. If you want to record with me, then give me a shout, whatever. Like I'm just not that kind of power trip kind of guy, and try and persuade someone to do something for me, whatever.
Yep.
So he writes on his Instagram and says, I need to get a hold of Music NL. So of course I knew the CEO of Music NL and really close with them. I'm a member there and all that kind of stuff, and I talked to Rhonda regularly. So I wrote him on Instagram and I was like, hey man, listen, I can 100% set you up with Rhonda. I said, just give me your email and I'll copy on an email. So he was like, that would be absolutely fantastic. He replied a couple hours later. So that was fine. I sent the email off. He got connected with Music, and all it was perfect. A couple weeks down the road, he randomly messaged me and said, you know what the best thing about you giving me that email was, or sending that email was? He said, I got to listen to your music.
Cool.
And he said, your music resonated with me differently than a lot of artists and people that I have been able to listen to in my life. And he said, your music resonated and connected with me. And he said, that's very important, because he said, I don't really do that very often. And Greg is really reserved too, right? And so he basically we set up a meeting with him, myself, and my manager, Paula, and Greg set up a Zoom meeting, and we got chatting about songwriting. Like at the time, I was just starting to co-write, and I wasn't really feeling comfortable with co-writing at the time. I was writing my own stuff, and I didn't really find anybody that I felt comfortable with writing with. I was writing with the biggest writers in Canada, and I found a couple that since then that have literally changed the game for me in songwriting. We'll talk about that in the new album after, but. I was talking about songwriting and all that kind of stuff, and basically said, well, why don't you fly to LA and spend a week with me? We'll write a couple songs. He said, we'll see where it goes. He said, we might not vibe and nothing might happen from it, whatever else. And I was like, yes, I'm going to LA. There's an excuse for me to go to California. I'm going to go to California. I'm going to see this dude's studio.
Absolutely.
So I walk in and see Keith Urban's guitar on the wall. There was, he had so much stuff. Like, you go into Pisser in the studio, and it's like, he's got 125 million records sold from songs and that he's written and produced. Looking on the wall, you're in a pisser, you're literally like pissing on it.
RIA records.
Crazy stuff. Like Adele.
Has he got a Grammy?
Yeah, he's got 2. He's just won another one with Michael Bublé.
I've heard of him.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it was an unbelievable trip, and I think Greg wants to get involved in this album, and we just actually finished a song that he we'll call him the executive producer on the song. Clint produced it, and then he kind of put the top on it, put the layer on it, and it really, really sounds fucking good.
When's it come out?
April 22nd, that one comes out.
It goes to radio, goes to...
Yeah, it'll go to streaming first. We'll get the streams up and all that kind of stuff and see where that goes. And then we'll go to radio, and I'm actually flying to Toronto to shoot a video for that in April.
Cool. You need any extras?
Well, I was thinking you guys could be characters or something, or drinking at the bar or something.
Yeah,
we do that.
I'm actually in a music video.
Are you?
I'm in an R. Kells video.
Are you?
Yep.
Did you get paid?
They shot it at the Casbah.
Yeah.
In Hamilton. Oh, it wasn't Casbah, it was another one. But they didn't pay anybody.
Were you a bystander or a character?
A dancing. I was a dancer.
I could be a character.
Fuck.
You don't have to pay me a thing.
I can only imagine you fucking dancing in a music video. I gotta go look at it now.
Yeah, we're in there for a hot minute, but my buddy Dave and I are dancing, and when they were shooting the video, there's 2 guys in plaid shirts, me and him, and we're dancing, They kind of sucked because they said you have to be there at 12 o'clock, and then they said you got to be there at 2 o'clock, and then you got to be there at 4 o'clock, and they drag you on. So what do you think we did? We went to a bar, and we drank while we waited for the thing, and then by the time we got in there, we were pretty juiced up, and everybody else was like there to be thing. We were like, we love the guys we know the guys in the band, so we're dancing and we're like low-fiving each other, and we're dancing around, and the producer of the video was, cut. The two guys in the plaid, a little less dude. and then, of course, the Max knows us in the band. He's looking at us like, you fucking idiots. Like, what are you guys doing? And then they bought everybody beers at the end of the shoot. They just opened up the bar, and we helped hand out some beers. So I am in there. I'll show you afterward. It's pretty good.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, again, like going back to resources. Now, I've been pretty lucky because I had a few friends that just started a production company that has done my videos, and it's been for Newfoundland and what we can, again, going back to resources and all that kind of stuff. I thought they did a stand-up job. But I think, with this factor grant I got now to do this album and whatever else, I got some more budget. And I'm going to work with a very, very, very good director in Toronto that I can't name right now, but that's all coming down the pipe, and we're gonna shoot a grand video for this single. I think this one here is some of the best stuff that I've done to date. Nice. And I think it's gonna be great. Obviously with Greg's polish on it too. Greg thinks it's a smash, so
best song always wins.
Absolutely, man.
Do you have a location yet where you're filming?
Not really. No, I don't really know anything. Like basically, all they've came back with so far is treatments, and what treatments are basically just like, hey, this is what I think we should do with this video. This is what we should do and act.
Let us know whatever we can do to help to save you some money and stretch that budget.
Yeah, we'll be characters. We'll be whatever.
You can use my house. Use the Bud Light Mansion.
Well, we can the Bud Light Mansion. Yeah.
My house is bright blue, painted bright blue. It actually looks like it could fit in around here. Mm-hmm. But we have, whatever you want. We've got a bar, and I'll show you some pictures. You'd probably like it.
I'm going to be up there, I believe, for the week. We're trying to line up some things now with SiriusXM and SoCan and Factor and all that kind of stuff just to meet some people.
What's the song about?
The song is called Lie, and it's a typical country breakup song. And it basically, the song is really about being with someone and you're lying to yourself and her or him, whatever way you want to look at it. And you're struggling to break up with that person basically, and you're lying to yourself and her, and you really don't want to do that anymore. Based on true story. Just a situationship that I had. It was a friend that turned into a relationship. And how best friends turn into relationships and how shitty that goes. In most sense. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically what the song's about. And I think, Greg
slow?
really, it's got drive to it. It definitely got drive through it. I'll tell you what, man.
The video should be Chris dating me, and I'll be dressed up as a woman.
I have an idea though. I think we debut it on this podcast. I think, maybe I can give you the track or something. You can kind of like play it,
whatever you want,
that kind of stuff, and then you can give me Morgan Wallen tickets for it.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that we are going to do. November 17th. Mm-hmm. You should come to Toronto because we've got a suite for John Party.
Cool.
And we're going to have some Beauty and the Beef listeners, maybe 40 of them, and we should have you as one of our celebrity guests to come that night.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm easy, man.
Let's do it.
Do you like going to Toronto?
I love Toronto. Yeah. I've been to Toronto a lot because it's the hub of everywhere you go. Like, if you go to Nashville, you got to go to Toronto from here anyway. You always got to fly into Toronto first before you go anywhere. And, I'm starting to connect with Toronto more now with my music and all that kind of stuff. And, people like yourself, it's just where everything happens, man. It's just where everything is. St. John's versus Toronto. Toronto is obviously a lot more advantageous than Little St. John's, So I do love Toronto.
I'm interested to know when you're writing your songs, and you said you don't read notes.
No.
Do you hear the music first, or do you know the words first? Do you write the lyrics?
It depends, but it's usually music first. And then I usually write a chorus before I write anything, and then I write the verses around it.
Okay.
I write at odd times. I don't sit down and say I'm going to write a song. It just whatever idea comes to me. And the biggest thing that I've matured with songwriting has been, if I hear that in my head, I document it now. So I'll have a voice memo going on my phone, and I'll pick up my guitar and I'll document it. before I was hearing shit and I'd never document it. And then I'd go back the next day and say, Jesus, man, what was that? Yeah. And it just disappears, right?
Yeah.
So that's the creative part of it. So with co-writing now with different, I'm writing with an unbelievable songwriter, a very underrated songwriter, Jesse Slack. He's writing a lot with Robin Annalini. They're really good friends, and I got connected with Jesse, and I tell you, this guy knows how to get the best out of me. And some of this stuff, like I'll probably play a song that we wrote, but basically, like I'll come up with the idea, and then I'll kind of get Jesse involved or get another songwriter involved to kind of bake it. I was years just doing that solo, just doing that on my own, and I bring it to my producer. I'm just like, yeah, it sounds great, man, and then we record it. But I think that if you have an experienced songwriter and knows how to get the best out of you, it's always better to have that second opinion or second or third opinion, whatever it is. Like there's fucking country songs now with 8 songwriters on it, like crazy, like But
you just need Hardy,
right? If I could ever have the opportunity. Greg spoke about a Nashville trip possibly to write with, like, Keith Urban's writers and all this kind of shit. Like, imagine if I was in the same room as him people. Like, what?
I was with
fucking right to do it.
I was with an artist.
Right
I was with an artist in Nashville to cut an album a couple years ago, and they did it at called Blackbird. No, I got to
Blackbird Studio.
The Bluebird Cafe, but the Blackbird is owned by
it's the studio down in Nashville.
It is like. Yeah. When we walked in, Dolly Parton was walking out.
Wow.
Like, it's incredible.
Amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. I see that. So, the other thing that I do often is follow a lot of, the bigger artists, or follow a lot of what's going on in Nashville and all this kind of stuff. It just keeps me in that same kind of business mode. Like, I know what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot. I see a Blackbird studio a lot, and it's definitely...
Martina McBride and her husband on it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to Nashville in June.
Have you been?
No, never.
Oh, I love that place.
No.
Chris loves it.
Yeah, I'm 4 times I've been there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going down at the tail end, by design, tail end of CMA Fest. And then I'm going to write for a week.
I was there 22 times in 10 months. Not going back.
22 times in 10 months.
That's right. It was awful. The first
22, let's just reverse now. 22 times in 10 months.
I would fly in for a day and fly home from a meeting, do it twice in a week.
Crazy, man.
And that town, 10, 15, 20 years ago when I first went, when I was 21, there was no rooftop patios. There was no rooftop bars. It was like George Street. It was this little street with all these buildings. There was Ernest Tubbs record shop. There was Tootsie's, the stage. Now, all those buildings have 3 stories, rooftop patios, people
Blake
playing
Shelton's,
on. They've all licensed.
Yeah, they bought it all off.
Georgia Line.
So people don't realize it, but all those buildings are basically owned by 2 or 3 guys.
The guys that own Tootsie's
he's like 100 years old. That guy. The reality is they license. They just buy the artist name and they license their names to the bars. So like everyone's like, oh, I went to Florida Georgia Line House, FGL House. No, you went to a guy's bar who licensed FGL's name to the bar. It's a licensing play, and then they brand all the booze with it, and then they do all those things with it. They figured out how to make money. Nashville's like,
no, it does well.
But
it's a lot of stimulus.
The bachelorette party capital of the world. Yeah, it's wild.
A lot going on there.
You'll like it though. You'll I mean, you'll find there's places like I stay off Broadway now. If I were to go, I'd be like
go off
Red Door
Music
or
Row.
Yeah, I'd go where the locals go.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're there on a Monday too, you got to go to a place called the 5 Spot. It's like a swing dancing place on a Monday night. It's so fun.
5 Spot, yeah, and I've obviously heard of Whiskey Bar and all that kind of stuff. I want to go see all.
Got to go
that.
to Santa's karaoke bar.
Santa's karaoke bar is one of the. It's a double wide trailer.
I'm struggling. I don't think a week is enough, but it's what I have because I want to work when I'm there too, right? And obviously I know a lot of people and connected with people that live in Nashville now. Mallory is from here, from Newfoundland. Yeah. She lives in Nashville now, and and some of the artists I've met, some of the independent artists I've met in at CCMAs and stuff, a bunch of them live down there. So, but I want to go out and do the Nashville thing. Obviously, I don't want to be stuck in a house for a week and writing songs
It'll probably inspire you a bit too.
Yeah, I think so. I think
see other artists play and.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually going to Myrtle Beach on that golf trip that I talked about in May, and then I'm flying for $80 US from Myrtle Beach to Nashville, from Myrtle, which is fucking nuts. If I were to book a flight to Nashville here, it would be $2,000. $2,000.
Really?
Easy. $2,000, $2,500 return.
Yeah.
From Nash. Yeah.
Jeez.
It's that. It's definitely that. It's just
so
crazy.
cheap to fly around.
And
the
no
US.
customs.
And no customs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the only thing is, I never thought about this. I got to bring my guitar and my fucking golf bag, so I got to bring that.
Few things.
Just take the golf bag and set it home with the other guys when they come.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah.
You're a big time golfer.
I am, man. I golf a lot. Our course here just kind of moved. We moved from one course to the other. One course bought the other course, and we're closing down Ballyhaley, which is a historic course here. Is 120 years old or something. And I've been golfing, been a member there for a few years, and we're moving up the road now up to what used to be Clough Valley Golf Course, which is up in the East End, and it's a newer course, and I actually love the course. But they kind of switched heads there. They kind of bought course for course. One is using Ballyhaley for development, and we're going to keep the golf course up to Clough Valley. So a few changes coming this year, but yeah, I golf a lot. And
We're coming here to do a Beauty and the Beef golf tournament.
That's fucking wicked.
Yeah, we're gonna do. We're gonna get 45 beauties.
Excellent.
Albert and Reed.
Albert and Reed.
I used to golf with Albert a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Albert's a good golfer. He can bomb the ball, buddy.
He told me you were a good golfer.
He can bomb the ball. Albert can bomb the ball. I'll give him that. You went up through junior program stuff, eh? You never? Okay. Well, we went through junior program, and kind of Albert used to golf with us. He was right into. You were right into the golf.
Nice.
No doubt.
I'm right into having fun in the sun. Having a beer.
I love.
I was
golfing,
into
man.
driving carts into
trees.
It's
trees.
Oh yeah. It's a sociable thing for me. I just
too.
I just love it, man. I just love getting out with buds and
Yep.
and golfing and
Let loose.
Yeah, and we're competitive too. Like I got a buddy of mine I'm golfing with all the time. His name's Ralph. He's probably 10 years older than me or whatever, but he just loves golf. He's got the same passion I got, and we're always fucking throwing, 50 bucks
20
here. Yeah, whatever. So there's that, and this South trip that I do every year. It's an actual competition. We got a little trophy and everything at the end of it and all that kind of stuff. But it's all for fun. It's all based on handicap, so it doesn't matter what caliber player you are. In the end, you're still going to be there and you're still going to compete. So it's pretty cool. If you play to your handicap, you'll be all right. So.
I'm a best buy. I like the best ball.
Best ball is great too.
It's
Good laugh.
It's so fun because if you got one, you just need one guy to make a shot every time.
Yeah, I mean that beef tournament would probably be a best ball tournament.
I would
right?
expect so.
Yeah. Yep, that'd be pretty cool.
We do a Calcutta draw everybody's names randomly, so you don't know who you're golfing with, and then you get to. And then we go out and have a big.
That's the greatest.
Cod cheeks for dinner.
Yeah, halibut cheeks.
Yeah. Well, let's do that at the new Ballyhaley, which is it's called Ballyhaley North and South now. There's two courses.
Albert's going to help set us up. He's doing the merch for it.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, listen, I think everybody wants to hear a song. Can you sing a song for us?
Yeah, man. What
are you going to say?
I don't even know
what do you
I'm gonna
sing?
sing.
Tell us about it.
I was thinking about Subfloor an hour ago, and now I'm actually talking about Jesse and Jesse Slack and whatever. So I had an idea for a song, and he basically helped me finish it, and we're actually working on this song right now. I actually just finished the lyrics for this, so why don't we play that?
Sounds good.
This one's called "She's Mine." Just talks about the atypical gal. She likes. I'll let the lyrics do the work, but she basically likes driving trucks. She likes drinking beer instead of wine and all this kind of stuff. She's like a hardy kind of gal. This one's more like a '90s country tune, and obviously I grew up on '90s country stuff, and here it goes. It's called "She's Mine." She gets up with the sun just before anyone, packs her lunch and heads on the freeway. She can outward the guys, she not that typical type. She's the last one to leave at a party. I'm thankful that I got her, think I'll keep her around. There ain't no one else like her that I've ever found. I like the truck that she drives, I love the way rides, like the badass look that she gives me. She's a straight shooting type, likes her whiskey on ice, stealing hearts from 0 to 60. Wilder the most that you'll find. She's a drop dead, one of a kind. She's mine. Yeah, she's mine. She's a hometown girl in her small town world. Likes to wear my hats at the ball game. She hates Chardonnay, rather beer any day. Like to think that she won't change. I like the truck that she drives, love the way that she rides, like the badass look that she gives me. She's a straight shooting type, likes her whiskey on ice, stealing hearts from 0 to 60. Wilder the most that you'll find. She's a drop dead, one of a kind. She's mine. Yeah, she's mine. Yeah, she's mine. Yeah, baby, she's mine. I'm thankful that I got her. Think I'll keep her around. There ain't no one else like her that I've ever found. I like the truck that she drives, love the way that she rides, like the badass look that she gives me. She's a straight shooting type, likes her whiskey on ice, stealing lunch from 0 to 60. Wilder the most that you'll find. She's a drop dead, one of a kind. Yeah, she's wilder than most that you'll find. She's a drop dead, one of a kind. She's mine. Yeah, she's mine. Yeah, she's mine. Yeah, baby, she's mine. Yeah.
Nice. Yes. Good job.
awesome.
Very much.
Nice.
Love that.
Yeah, it's cool. We had this. So I don't know if you've been following the gram or not, but I've been stuck on '90s music lately, and Scotty McCreery
Love him.
has got a song out right now. It matters to us, I think, or matters to her.
Yeah.
Matters to her, and that song really connected with me. It's weird. I hear songs and I create songs out of it, and it doesn't it doesn't have to be in the same key. Different vibe, different lyrics, different everything. When I go and write a song, but it triggered me. Most of my roots come from most of the songs that I sang, growing up were 90s country songs, Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, all this kind of stuff. Scotty McCreery reminds me of that. He's a foundational country artist,
He's an old soul.
Yeah, man. And so that song triggered me, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna put a 90s sounding song on this record, and that was it. And I mean, this song is not a true story. It's something that people can relate, to, and she gets up with the sun just before anyone. She packs her lunch and heads on the freeway. She can outwork the guys. She's not that typical type. She's the last one to leave at a party, right? So she's a party animal, but she's a hard worker as well, kind of like a hardy kind of woman kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and then then I heard. So it's funny too when I write a song, I can hear the production and how things are going to sound. That's half the producer in me, I guess. And the way I can hear like the steel guitar and the licks on the steel guitar and the licks on the guitar and all that kind of stuff. And then Clint kind of just takes it, and I'll hum it. So like in the beginning, I was wanting them to put this. So I'll send that to him, and he'll kind of map out the guitar on it, right? So it's pretty cool how it all works. But yeah, so I took this to Slacker, and I was like, Jesse Slack, the guy I wrote it with, I was like, man, I got the chorus to this tune, and I think it's badass, and it has badass in it. And I'm like, we gotta come up with something, and then we come up then he came up with this kind of like half bridge kind of into the chorus. Well, I'm thankful that I got her. Think I'll keep her around. There ain't no one else like her that I've ever found. Right? So, and then that
Very
triggers,
radio friendly.
Yeah, it triggers the chorus, right?
Yeah.
So,
Do you have a favorite one favorite country artist of all time?
of all time.
Yeah, like you get to see one last show before we take you up to the Dead Man's Hole up there and roll you down the hill.
Brooks and Dunn would be a lifetime
Yeah,
dream to see.
They're great.
Yeah.
And it just like, and this is kind of Brooks and Dunny too, right? This
Yeah.
tune. But I mean, Ronnie Dunn, his voice just puts shit through me like I've never.
That's great.
I can't explain that. I'm a feeler. I'm an emotional, and it's what country music is based on. It wants to make you cry. It wants to make you laugh. It wants to make like the Toby Keith. I love this bar. Like that's kind of like a party atmosphere, kind of laughing and carrying on, dancing, drunk kind of deal. And then you got George Jones, if drinking don't kill me, kind of like raw, like
Yeah.
you know, like
Like that. Yeah, that's what's the song that out in the backwoods, down in the holler. It's
Oh yeah. That's a great.
the
Yeah,
Hound Dog.
that's a great tune. That's a great tune.
I love that's
Yeah.
my karaoke, one of my karaoke jams.
Yeah. So for me, it was the karaoke. Jesus, man, we'll get you to a karaoke bar tonight. See if we can find one.
I think you won't be able to get me out.
See if we can find one.
You don't want me in there.
Well, no, it's a 2-song limit though. We got to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Karaoke.
I'll just do George Strait Run, and then I'm good.
Love George Strait.
He's my one guy. He's my favorite. We're going to see him in
man.
Milwaukee. We're going listen to this lineup.
King of country.
We're going to Milwaukee to see George Strait, Little Big Town, and Chris Stapleton.
Oh wow.
Should be awful.
Wow.
Should be
should
awful.
be awful. Yeah.
Well, listen, hey, I know you're a busy guy, and I know you got stuff going on. You got to get cleaned up so we can go have some cod cheeks tonight.
Absolutely. I don't know what cod cheeks, but yeah.
Do you eat cod?
We can do. Oh yeah. We can
Yeah?
do seafood if you want to do seafood, whatever you want to do. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. You go have a nap. You gotta have a nap, man.
I didn't see any food yesterday.
Oh boy.
No, that's a dad joke. No, hey, listen, I know you're busy, and we're a big believer in you, and we love what you're doing,
Appreciate
and
it,
just
man.
seeing you do that, and just lets people see how good you are
great.
and talented you are. And if
Really
you're
appreciate it.
from any other part of Canada, you should be find Justin Fancy Music on Instagram and support him. Download his music and buy his songs and help him out because he's got a studio to build.
What's your Instagram handle?
Yeah, Justin Fancy Music.
Justin
And
Fancy
justinfancymusic.ca website. You find everything there, all my socials. I'm trying to do this fucking TikTok thing, and it's driving me
So are
nuts.
we.
But
yeah, it's awful.
Oh man, it's like. Anyway,
Yeah, you really put your integrity.
I'm
on the
hoping
line
one of these
sometimes.
days I'm gonna pay someone to just fucking do it for me.
Well-
Dress up like me and do it. You know.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Put on a fucking bobblehead or something.
Can we get
right?
Lex to do it?
Lex would definitely do it.
Yeah, he'll do anything.
Lex would definitely do it, and he's bald, so it might work.
Yeah. Hey, listen, thanks very much. We love you.
You too,
Best
man.
of luck.
Boys. Thanks
Thanks,
for
Justin.
having me. Thanks for coming down, flying all the way down just to see me. You know?
Well, we did a couple other things. No, but listen, hey, it's been a great trip here to Newfoundland, and the people, the culture, the food, the music. Thanks to the boys here who got us set up. We're gonna give you guys a little shout too on here. We're getting some merch. You guys are gonna help us out with some merch.
That's awesome, man.
So,
That's
you got
awesome.
any free merch for us?
I don't, other than I'm
eh.
really, really grateful for for you guys having me on. I've seen what you're doing on Instagram too, which is wild. I've worked like 3 years of blood, sweat, and tears to get 3,000 followers, and you guys are just like, Morgan Wallen tickets, and then you got I don't know how many thousand you got
1,200.
going on. So yeah, 1,200. But
Sounds like you should be hiring us to do your marketing.
well,
I'm pretty busy.
Yeah, so am I.
well, we should do. You know what? Next time you sell tickets, let's go on the halves and let's do it. Let's follow this, follow that kind of deal. Let's do that.
I think what
Yeah.
we're gonna
Good
do
idea.
is we're gonna do a night with Justin Fancy at John Party
there you go.
and come to Oshawa in November, and let's
See, now we're talking.
we want to meet people like we
Yeah.
don't have fans,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a base of us doing fun stuff, and people support us, and we want to support you too. So
You will have fans is the thing that you keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
I love it. this Beauty and the Beef thing for me, you know, you were saying a couple months ago that you started it up and doing it. I was just like, what is he doing now? I wonder what he is up to now. But whatever you touch and whatever you do, from what I've known of you in the last couple of years, you do it very fucking well. So
I appreciate that.
you know, I'm hoping that you'll get some more followers and the foghorn stops out by the door.
Yeah. I was going to start an OnlyFans account too. We discussed that last night.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Would you subscribe?
I'm not going down that avenue in my mind right now.
Yeah.
I have a creative mind.
There is a song in that, though.
Yeah. Oh, there probably is a song about
the
it.
Beef's OnlyFans account.
Oh my God.
All right.
let's
Thanks,
wrap her
guys.
up.
Appreciate it. Love Newfoundland. We'll be back.
Peace.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys. Appreciate it.